everyone. Welcome to this episode of WoW with AI. So this is where we bring industry leaders in to speak a little bit about what they've done with AI, how they reimagine their work. And as we like to say at AuxoAI, make it real. So today we're really thrilled to have Michael Breed, who's CMO of Fogo de Chão, come in to talk a little bit about, the forefront of how he's been applying AI in modern marketing, particularly in the hospitality space. So Michael, very lovely to have you and welcome.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Shirley. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe just to start things off, could you do a little bit of an intro about yourself, your role?
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael Breed, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Fogo. And if you're not familiar with Fogo, so Fogo de Chão started in South America back in 1979. So Fogo's 46-year-old brand came to the U.S. in 1997 and have been growing across the U.S. and around the world ever since. So if you've ever been to a Fogo de Chão, you'll know we celebrate the culinary art form of churrasco. So that is all about our gauchos practicing the craft of churrasco with our grills, fire roasting meats, butchering the meat, fire roasting, serving tableside, carving tableside, and our market table that's full of nutrient dense and whole foods and seasonal ingredients, and really just a great celebratory experience for our guests to enjoy and get a taste of the culinary art of churrasco. So we've been we started in 97 in the US and have been growing. So
amazing. And I've had the pleasure of going to Fogo a few times, and every time walk out full but happy and just really enjoy the food. Such really, really good quality.
Thanks. Yeah, we talk a lot about discovery. It's a fun experience because you really get to discover a lot, whether it's things on the market table or different cuts of meat or different styles of cooking. There's just endless discovery in a Fogo experience. You get to just continue to see and experience new things, and very, very experiential. So,
yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the Fogo experience and hospitality at large, maybe we kick it off with just application, that you've seen, right? Just in the hospitality space. In particular, this is an industry where teams are always asked to grow faster. They're asked to move really smart, but also do it with less in some sense. So love to hear a little bit about, where you've seen AI in practice, your own experience with it, and just how you've seen that impact the landscape.
Yeah, great. Hospitality it's a great industry. It's one that I've spent most of my career in. So my time has been at Brinker with Chili's and Maggiano's, and at DoorDash, and then here at Fogo over these last couple of years. And in every type of dining, style of dining, type of restaurant, technology enablement's been transformative for the space. And so, but hospitality at its core is just such a great industry. It is all built on, human connection. It's all built on guest experience, and all that happens, inside the four walls, at the restaurant, at the table, making guests feel special every single day. And so really that is, along with intuition, our teams in the restaurants just have to have such strong intuition and instinct in terms of how to best take care of every single guest at every single table, every single day, every single occasion. And so for us, we think about how do we leverage technology in ways that help scale that intuition? How do we use it in ways that help scale that human connection and that guest connection? And so not technology for technology's sake, not automation for automation's sake. For us, it's all about, at the end of the day, what are we solving for? How do we really elevate the guest experience? So I'll give you a practical example. In the last couple of years for us. We saw that we were missing around 25% of our phone calls, which sounds terrible, and it is. And so we were either missing or dropping about 25% of our calls to the restaurant, because if you've been to a Fogo, it's very busy, lots of things happening. And if you've worked in a restaurant, you'll know that one of the most stressful things is just hearing the phone ringing and not being able to take care of, because there's a guest on the other end of that line, but a lot of times you also have a guest right in front of you, or a lot of other things happening. And so we knew with all the developments in conversational AI that in voice AI, that it had gotten so much better. We've all had, those experiences with agentic voice solutions that are not great, that it's like, I just want to talk to somebody.
Right.
We went and looked at how could we scope a voice solution that would not just satisfy the need of answering every call, which is important, but what was one that could elevate the experience and differentiate the Fogo experience. And so we built the platform that we could answer guest calls and take reservations and modify reservations, answer common questions. So that was like the baseline. But then we worked with them to record a custom voice with our chief culture officer, is a woman by the name of Selma Olvera, who started with Fogo back in 97 and is still our chief culture officer today. And she's from Southern Brazil and has a wonderful, beautiful voice. And so we were able to clone her voice. And so now when you call a Fogo, it's not just a voice agent, right? It's actually Selma. And so we call our agent Selma AI. And she can answer in Spanish, in Portuguese, in English.
I'm Selma on a recorded line. How can I help you today?
Hello, Selma. I would like a reservation for tomorrow, Saturday at 8 o'clock for 4 people.
Perfect. Your reservation is confirmed for tomorrow, Saturday the 18th at 8 p.m. for 4 people.
And so it took something that was a negative and something that was holding our teams back and creating negative guest experiences. And it not only, helped us deliver on that baseline expectation of we should not miss a call, but then elevated it further to a really delightful experience and in the way that Selma interacts with guests and then where we can go and take Selma from there. So that for us is like one of those proof points where technology can really be a hospitality enabler and a human connection enabler and not a replacement, which is really important for us.
Amazing. And, I love the hospitality industry for this experience because everybody understands it, right? So for me, I've definitely been on the other side of the call where last minute you want to book a reservation. And when you don't have that person to pick up, you go down the list and you find the next one to go to. So to have somebody to be able to pick up, that's fantastic.
One of the unanticipated things too was, we look a lot of times for three-way wins, like win for the guest, win for the team, win for the business. And certainly a win for the guest because, we're able to not miss a call, win for the business because we're capturing that demand and that revenue. But it really was a great win for the team too, because we found that a lot of times when those calls were getting missed, it was in those off hours, those times when the, guests aren't as in the building, but, maybe don't have a host staffed and the management team is trying to get set up for the dinner shift and have a manager meeting and sit down for lunch, like have a bite to eat before and, connect with their team before the next shift. And so those are the times actually that the agent was able to alleviate that pressure from the team. And so there was such a win for the team too, because it really felt like an investment back in their quality of life and their work experience as well. So I think that's also something we try to keep in mind with technology projects is like, how does it affect not just the guest experience, but the team member experience? Because ultimately, every guest experience is going to be delivered through a better team member experience. It really starts there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for the audience, just to share a little bit about voice models. So the reason it's evolved, right? When you hear voice models, a lot of times you think of this very robotic, hi, how are you kind of thing. What's been transformative is in the past, a lot of times the way these voice models works is that it would take the voice model, transcribe it into text, read it through an LLM, and then generate the answer. And so what happens then is that one, the answer is very robotic, right? And it you can only ask kind of one thing at a time because it doesn't process it in an instantaneous kind of way. So that's one difference. The other difference is that a lot of times it's the tone of the voice that tells a lot, how urgent you are, how happy you are, right? And so that's so critical. And so once you're able to really create a lot of these new models have these new voice element to it, where it's purely trained on the frequency of the sound. And so it's not only able to capture the information, but also the context and the emotions around it, which to your point earlier about that intuition, I'm building that in. So that's become a huge game changer in this space.
That's awesome. See, and I don't even know all the technical reasons that works and that's true, but that's so cool to hear that that's really what's happening behind the scenes, because we'll listen to calls now where, usually when you're calling a restaurant, it's like got kids in the car, or you're coming and going, or there's background noise, and sometimes you're frantic, sometimes you're, and now hearing you say that, and you're hearing some of those scripts play back, you can tell, it's a very different model processing that today. Low latency, very natural back and forth between the agent and the guest. So that's amazing what the progress looks like.
Yeah, and it's nice that you guys have the human touch with her recording the conversation.
Yeah. It's funny. Selma, her grandkids will actually call the restaurant to hear her voice sometimes now, because they're like, I can call any Fogo, and Selma will be there. So it's been a really nice element. So, and she's very generous to do that.
That's amazing. Great. I mean, that's a great example. And, maybe we'd love to hear a little bit about other examples where it's really been able to help, leverage some of the insights and intuitions for the marketing team. So audio, a voice model is a really great application. I know we've been partnering a little bit, leveraging one of the solutions for market research as well. Love to kind of chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for us too, these projects start with what's the brand strategy, what's the overarching strategy, and why will technology be an enabler here? So when we think about Fogo de Chão, we are looking to elevate occasions, create more and new occasions for guests, and then create more personalization within those occasions. So find new ways to meet guest needs, whether it's your birthday and you're coming for the full churrasco, or you're coming in on a big holiday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, or if you're just coming in to Bar Fogo and sitting down, or coming in for our market table lunch. We want to continue to find. So we talk about our innovation flywheel, and we work across each of these different platforms of innovation and find new ways to engage guests and find out what their preferences are and what they care about, what would enhance and elevate that experience, and continue to differentiate Fogo. And so that's been one of the ways it's been great getting to partner with AuxoAI in this way, in building a synthetic research platform that has really been a game changer for us. I think we always want to incorporate consumer insights into all of the things we're doing. There's a cycle time on customer research that just takes time, and sometimes the business is just moving so fast. Finding a way to incorporate customer feedback, voice of the customer learning earlier, quicker, more rapidly, and then go validate it in market, and then bring those learnings back into our research. And so that's what we would like traditionally do with traditional research. What we've been able to do with AuxoAI is do that with the synthetic user platform that is actually not just, I think when we talk about synthetic personas and synthetic users, sounds like very futuristic, and it kind of is, but our personas that we've been able to build are actually tied to our first party data. So we're not just creating a generic persona with some brand knowledge based on like a broad segmentation, but we're actually able to feed in first party data that we've appended from our transactional data. So we have real behavioral data with real demographics, real attitudes, real preferences, feed that in, build real personas, run custom research through the platform, get outcomes. And no research is ever perfect, right? And so we're getting input. We can kind of dig into the whys more. A lot of times in traditional research, we'll go and we'll get a survey result back, and we'll all want to know, well, but why? Like, what was behind that? Why did they answer it that way? We can go and talk to those same personas and ask them those questions. And then we get that in-market testing. We find out what really happens and validate that learning. And then we bring it back into the next round and into the continue to optimize and refine that model. So it's been a really eye-opening process for us. My background started actually in insights before I moved into marketing, and so big believer in traditional and custom research and qual and quant and all the things. But it's been a major unlock for us in terms of how synthetic user research can frankly just allow us to do a lot more voice of the customer analysis and incorporate that learning into, menu and innovation and pricing and customer segmentation and guest sentiment analysis and anything you can think of that you use traditional means for. Synthetic personas has been a big unlock for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, really excited, happy to hear that. So, you were one of the first of the folks that we were able to partner with on this idea. Just for the viewers back home, this idea came back in about 3 years ago. A Stanford professor did this study to say, hey, can we actually get reasonably accurate responses from AI that's a kind of a duplicate of the human market research results, right? So he did this study and results came back, 85% accuracy, which is wildly accurate. Sometimes you can't even get human to human studies to match so strongly. And so that was what prompted AuxoAI to invest in this idea. The goal of it is to say, okay, can we take your customer profiles, your segments, right? Let's say you have 10 different segments. Can we create 1,000, 2,000 people with very different personalities, behaviors, buying attributes, backgrounds, demographics, psychographics, etc., and create this kind of real population, right? Put them into a simulation of a real market and have them answer questions. And so the purpose of that is a few things. One is sometimes, when you're doing exploratory market research, you, as Michael was saying, right, you want to be able to have a test plan to say, hey, I'm testing this concept before releasing 20 concept. Can I shortlist it to 5? So rather than doing a series of studies, you can quickly kind of flesh out the key ideas and then go push that into market. The other thing is that sometimes you need quick business decisions, right? So traditional market research, which is always valuable, but it is slow. So sometimes if you want quick turnaround, it could be a quarter, right? For building the study, launching the study, gathering the insights, interpreting the results. But if you need something really quick, then in days, you can get something to say, hey, good enough, representative of our industry, and perhaps this is something we can at least pilot, right? And then the third use case in my history, I've worked a lot in the pricing field as well. Sometimes you have hundreds of brands, right? Hundreds of SKUs or brands that you want to test, but you only have a certain amount of market research budget. So now just saying, instead of, hey, we're only going to focus on the top 2 brands or, these top 2 use cases, you can do this for as many as you reasonably would want to. So it's basically faster results, still representative of your customer base, and also lets you get insights where traditionally maybe you wouldn't have that spend or focus in that area. So that's what really inspired us. We're really, really grateful for Michael, who wanted to work with us to pilot and explore this idea. So it's been a tremendous amount of insights learning along the way.
We are so grateful and know that we're still in early days and early learning. But, to your point, what started for us as how can we, do this faster, quicker cycle times, cost is always a factor, of course. And then what we've come to realize too is like there's things that synthetic provides us that are even richer though, than what we would sometimes get in our traditional methods. And so that's been a real learning for us to see that these new methodologies really do provide, richer insights in some cases than even if you had the budget or had the time, et cetera, to do a lot of custom or traditional research panels and things. And so, the quality, the richness, the depth, the ability to follow up and ask another question and come back to it and position it a slightly different way. That learning loop, that iteration, it really builds more of an iterative learning loop mentality and within the team, and a curiosity. And I think that's where a lot of this starts, is starting with a natural curiosity about the guest and about the experience and how can we learn as much as we can and make it even better.
Yeah, and I mean that's so accurate. It's such a new space, right?
Yeah, the one thing that we think about too is what guests say versus what they do. There's always been that disconnect sometimes in research. It's like, okay, we heard this, but then why didn't that show up in market? And in that bridge that we've been able to build with you to have, first party data built personas really kind of helps bridge that gap where what guests say and what guests do and why they're sometimes different. So that's been, back to real to synthetic back to real. I think that's been something that we're still very early stage learning about, but that I think is going to become an even more important part of how the models get better and better,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As we, roll out these studies and pilots, to your point, we get the actual sales data back. We can say,
Yeah.
hey, this segment said this in the study. How did they actually react?
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
And then why is it different, right?
Mhm.
And then get those insights, bring it back into the model so that your personas, your segments in the model itself, gets more and more accurate with each study.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe then the last question is just, the reality of this, right? So exciting, very new frontier of things. We're both learning as we go, having a lot of fun along the way too. And then just talking about the scalability of it. So, whether it's this or voice models or in general, how scalable are these type of solutions? And what has your experience been like? What kind of capabilities teams do you need to actually make these type of things work?
Yeah, for the way we think about it is it's a more, we're a pretty small team. And so for us, it's a real enabler for small teams because it allows you to scale in ways that you can't with adding people. Like we can't, we're not going to have a 200-person marketing team, but we can have agents that are running around the clock on research or on, automating different parts of our marketing engine and building new insights, running post campaign analysis in Snowflake. Like we're able to, our back to cycle times, like we're able to have much more rapid cycle times on these learnings, bring learnings back, and then just keep moving. Retail in general, hospitality is certainly true. It's a very day-to-day business, and
Yeah.
every day is a new scorecard and a new opportunity and a new, tailwind or headwind. And so things that you're dealing with, even as you look kind of over that longer range. And so the tools for us have been just speaking from the perspective of a smaller team, a huge enabler. So I think for us, it's been a good lesson in you don't have to have a massive team to use these things. Like these, it's an exciting time, and it reminds me of kind of where kind of an early days of web. It's a time for the application layer. Like the tools are there for you; they're accessible, and just go out and try them, use them, and you're not going to get the exact right answer the first time out of the gate. And so, finding, being curious, working with the tools, encouraging that across your team. So with a small team, that's how we're thinking about it. We're very excited because a lot of the adoption challenge, a lot of the scaling challenge with AI tools, I feel like is more of a people challenge than the tools can do it, but the culture is going to accept these new ways of working and these new models. And in one way, at least with a smaller team, is to cast that vision for how we can multiply our impact individually when we can, have all these different agents, working for us in different parts of the marketing mix. And so the other piece I'd say that's been really important for us is getting our data right first. And we've been on, a 2-year journey of data modernization. And we had, one of the benefits in hospitality is we do have a lot of our own customer data. We have our own transactional data. We have our product mix. We know what people buy when they come, what their party composition looks like, what they come for. And so it's actually very rich with data. And that sometimes surprises people in hospitality. But a lot of that data was housed in just
Mhm.
lots of different places and disparate places. And so bringing that all together now, in Snowflake, layering on top of that, Snowflake Cortex, being able to just with natural language, have a business user query the data, interrogate the data, ask good questions, design analyses, have the agent help design those analyses, take those learnings, feed them into a platform like AuxoAI, so that for us is it all though started with the data. If our data wasn't, you know, in good order, it would just not that it couldn't be done. It's just a lot more challenging. So a lot of the use cases assume that your data is already flowing across systems, and that was what we had to sort of get right first. And we're, it's still a journey, but we're much further down the path than we were a year ago or 6 months ago.
Yeah, and it's great that you guys had the vision of doing it, knowing, that AI is going to take off, right? So, a lot of times setting that foundation does take time and does take effort. Once it's there, it's a lot easier to build these, talk to data capabilities, these agentic solutions, but it does require that time spent to really kind of till the soil, if you will, to get the richness out of a lot of those insights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. All right. So I know we're close up on time. Thank you so much. But any final thoughts before we wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, first, I mean, thank you. Thanks for asking me to join, and it was really fun to get to have a conversation with you about this today. And you know, uh, I would say for us, we think about differentiation. It still comes down to, brand differentiation. What are those things that really set your brand apart, and not starting with technology as the answer and as the solution? And so it still starts from a very traditional place of, great brand building, great customer insight, great marketing, and finding those really key points of differentiation, and then training the models, and helping the models learn more about your guest and about your business and about your brand and about your team. And then the other thing is for us looking at the existing pain points in the experience. And so that's, the example of the voice agent. When there's a really clear customer problem, um, then the solutions will take care of themselves. Like, the solutions are out there,
Yeah.
but getting to kind of first principle problem identification, that is kind of the place to really begin before you start down a path of AI enablement, or looking for the right solution or product or tool. Those tools exist. You could probably solve it in a lot of different ways, but getting the problem definition right up front is something that we think is important, and we're still trying to get, of course, better at over time, and get really clear and crystal clear on those problem definitions.
Yeah, I mean, those are great points, right? Get your data in order. Have a clear vision of the what you want before focusing on the technology, and always focusing on the brand. It's not about a technology enablement. It's about, hey, how do I, you know, um, build my brand in a stronger way, leveraging some of these solutions. So very,
Absolutely.
very great takeaways for the folks watching this.
Absolutely. But no, we're very thankful for the partnership, and you guys always bring great insights to us, and just and care about our business, which we appreciate too. So thank you for visiting Fogo, and would love to invite others to give Fogo a try if you've never been. It's a great experience, and would love to
Absolutely,
let
highly
me know if you want
recommend
to
it.
go. So reach out to me, and would love to help set that up. So
Yep. Definitely, highly recommend going to Fogo, celebrate, enjoy just showing up and having a nice dinner. Had so many great experiences and memories there. So,
thanks,
thank you as always, Michael. Really a
guys.
pleasure having you.
See
It's been a
you.
lot of fun. Yep.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you.